Reporting live, this is Tracking the Tropics.
Well, good Thursday morning. Storm Team 8 meteorologist Amanda Hawley here with the latest on Hurricane Dorian. The 5 a.m. update from the National Hurricane Center just came down, and we're not looking at much changes this morning. Early this Thursday morning, again, the 5 a.m. advisory here. Maximum winds still at 85 miles per hour, so still a Category 1 hurricane moving northwest at 13 miles per hour. The National Hurricane Center noting here that you can see on satellite there is a bit of a asymmetric look to the system at this point. It's not quite as organized as it was looking as it moved past the islands, the Caribbean islands near Puerto Rico there. So you can see on the southern side there is a little bit of a dry slot. There's some dry air intruding, which is keeping that storm a little weaker. Good news in the near term, but it is still looking like this storm will strengthen heading into the next 48 hours to the next 5 days as it makes its way closer to the southeast United States. Confidence is growing that we will see an impact somewhere in the United States here over the next several days. So I'm going to put up the latest track for you from the National Hurricane Center. We just got this in again moments ago. No changes really here in the next couple of days. Still expecting it to move into the Atlantic at about 13 miles per hour there and strengthen as it does so. The National Hurricane Center noting conditions becoming a little more ripe for strengthening over the next couple of days. In the near term, the next 12 hours or so, it's got to kind of reform. Like I said, it doesn't look quite as good as it did 12 hours ago or so. But as it moves into the Atlantic there, conditions going to be pretty favorable for strengthening. So you can see the official forecast from the National Hurricane Center has it becoming possibly a Category 2 hurricane as early as this afternoon and staying a Category 2 through tomorrow, and then becoming a major hurricane tomorrow afternoon. So about 24 hours from now, potentially getting to that Category 3 status. Now, the National Hurricane Center does say that rapid intensification is possible as those conditions are ripe. So the intensity forecast, again, that low, it still has that low confidence. But in the near term here, through tomorrow, the track forecast at least has fairly high confidence that we're going to see it move just northeast of the Bahamas there. Now, as we get towards the beginning of the weekend and, of course, Labor Day, that's when confidence kind of goes down a bit. And we've been expressing that for several days now, the confidence coming down as it nears the state of Florida. But it does look more likely that we will have some sort of impact from a major hurricane somewhere along the east coast of Florida. But just keep in mind that there's about a 200 mile error at the end of day 5 with this track. That's why it's so wide. That's 200 miles out from the center of that cone too. So 200 miles north and 200 miles south, as well as east and west. So the timing here has been kind of waffling back and forth a little bit as well. So again, no major changes with this update. We're still looking at the possibility of a major hurricane making its way towards the state of Florida sometime this weekend, possibly late this weekend. Again, like I just mentioned, the timing here is probably the biggest change, the most notable change with this advisory that we're kind of seeing the time frame here a little later. And so the storm slowing down, which honestly is not the greatest news because the longer it sits over water, the more time it will have to potentially strengthen further. So we're going to keep an eye on that, especially the timing. But again, as of the 5 a.m. advisory, the storm forecast has it slowing down a bit and potentially not making landfall until sometime early Monday morning. Whereas yesterday we were thinking, maybe sometime Sunday night, early Monday morning. This is slowed down just a hair. But again, that's probably the most notable change for this 5 a.m. advisory. So all interests in Florida. You can see here too, before I advance it to the next little slide here, it does have it staying a Category 1 hurricane as it moves across the state and into the state of Florida there. So making landfall again really anywhere along that East Coast. Miami's still not out of the question. Jacksonville still not out of the question. And we're still looking at the potential for it to possibly maybe go even a little more north than that. There's a lot of different factors at play here, but we've got plenty of time. I do want to reiterate that this is 5 days away still. We are Thursday morning, and we're still not looking at potential impacts until maybe Sunday, early Sunday morning. So that's several days to still kind of watch and see and see how things evolve over the next several days, see how models trend, and see where this thing will actually go and what kind of impacts we can really hone in on over the next couple of days. So again, a lot of people saying, I'm just checking out your comments here, that, there's some anxiety, and that's probably a little natural. We've had busy hurricane seasons, the past several hurricane seasons, so a lot of people's senses are a little heightened right now, which, is good. That's what we want you to be. We want you to be aware at this point, but not concerned. If you have your hurricane plan in place, then, you can start to put it into action over the next couple of days when it really starts to, we can own in on some specific impacts. But specific impacts at this point are just too early to tell for those exact locations. So a lot of people saying, fill up your gas tanks, and that may not be a bad idea. If you think about it, we're looking at an East Coast impact in the state of Florida, and a lot of people may actually be traveling to this coast to try and evacuate. So even though, we may not be taking a direct hit from Hurricane Dorian here, people will be over here, and we may have some extra cars on the road, if you will. But thanks for joining me, everyone, this morning. I just wanted to give you guys the latest update. We're going to be doing these Tracking the Tropics updates for you at every single update that we get from the National Hurricane Center, and those come in at every 3 hours. So we get full updates. That would be a track update at the 5 o'clock hour and the 11 o'clock hour. So that would be 5 a.m. and 5 p.m., as well as 11 a.m. and 5 p.m. And then we get intermediate advisories at 8 and 2. So 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. and 2 a.m. and 2 p.m. So we're going to be on here for every single update, just giving you guys the latest. From update to update, there's probably not going to be a whole lot of change, but it's still important to kind of stay informed heading into the next couple of days and see where things are trending. And that's exactly what we look for with these updates as well. And with every new model run, we kind of look for trends. We don't like to focus in on one model, because that would be not very good, because that's not usually what the storm will end up doing. But as I said earlier, there's still some high confidence on the forecast track over the next 48 hours. You can see that cluster there. I'll put it in full screen for you. You can see the cluster is very close. We don't have a lot of divergence, if you will, through the next 48 hours. After this is through Sunday morning. But after that, you can see there is some spread in exactly where Dorian could potentially go. Now, these are potential paths. These are all the different models that we kind of look at. Some do better than others. Some are worse than others. Some take certain things into account that others don't. There's a lot of different factors at play with Dorian. And at this point, we just don't know exactly where it will make landfall. It's still very far away. And then after that, it will likely at some point curve to the north. Of course, we always talk about that high pressure in the Atlantic, the Bermuda high pressure, the main steering current for tropical cyclones. And this was kind of a similar situation with Irma. How strong will that high pressure actually be? And that will depend on when it makes the turn. So it's hard to predict that. And there's another couple little factors at play. There's an upper level area of low pressure over the Bahamas that will kind of steer it and hopefully bring a little bit of a wind shear effect to it that will keep it a little bit weaker at this point. But the probability of tropical storm force winds is growing here in the Tampa Bay area as we get a little closer, and we have a slightly more confidence that we will see some sort of impact here in the state of Florida. But again, at this point, it's just too early to tell how strong those winds may be here in the Tampa Bay area. Kind of scrolling through the last graphic that I have to show you here. We're having some issues with our clickers, if you haven't noticed the past couple of days, just from the receivers. But I just wanted to show you the earliest arrival of tropical storm force winds. And that just means this will be the last time that the latest time that you'll want to have all of your preparations completed. And again, you don't need to rush to anything at this point. We still have plenty of time to get to that here over the next couple of days to see where this will go. But doesn't look like my graphics want to advance. But I do think that by Saturday evening, you'll want to have everything completed if it comes down to that. Again, we have a couple days to get through this before you have to make any major changes to your plan and put those into action. But for now, I just wanted to give you guys the latest update from the National Hurricane Center. This was the 5 a.m. update. No major changes. Still expecting a major hurricane to make landfall somewhere along the east coast of Florida sometime this weekend. And again, we're going to be giving you guys these updates every single 3 hours when they come out from the National Hurricane Center, and we'll be live with you every 3 hours. So we hope you join us. And again, it will be interactive. We can take some of your questions as well throughout the day. Until then, I will be back here at 8 a.m. with that intermediate advisory. Until then, stay tuned. We're of course live on Channel 8 WFLA, and Lee Span is giving you guys live updates every 10 minutes as well. I'll see you guys in just a little bit.